Have you ever wondered what it takes to truly have happiness? Seriously, dropped in and asked yourself, am I happy? And what needs to happen for you to experience happiness? Is it from the outside? Oh, if I have these things, then I'm happy. Is it an inside job? Is it a yes and? Well, well, today I am so excited because I want to introduce you to Mr. Happy Living, also known as Matt Gersper. Let me just bring him to the stage right now and just say, hey, Matt, I am so excited to have some time with you today to talk about happiness.
I'm very happy to be here. Yeah, I'm happy to be here with you, Junie.
There we go. We're both happy. We're already starting on a good note of happiness. Well, most of the time I read people's bios, kind of give you the lowdown of who they are and all their stats. Well, I pulled something off of his website and I just want to share this about him. All the juicy stuff around what he's done and who he is, you can find in the show notes. I want you to hear this. When it comes to happy, experience is a great teacher. And Matt has a deep life experience to draw from and a storyteller's heart to share it with. He's been a paperboy, a janitor, a grocery clerk, sprinkler installer, college pole vaulter, gosh, my goodness, professional football player, bartender, retail buyer, sales representative, financial auditor, business executive, and entrepreneur. He's lived in more than 10 houses in 7 states, owned 4 businesses, moved cross-country 4 times, married, raised 2 children, divorced, married again, and raising 2 more children. And although he never ended up exactly where he expected, each adventure enriched his life. And now Matt has dedicated the rest of his life to enriching others. And just a couple of things to add in. He is also a podcaster. He has an amazing pod called Something Significant, which I had the total pleasure of being on. You must listen to that episode. It's so wonderful. He's an amazing host, and we will put the link to that show in the show notes as well. And he's an author, motivational speaker, and entrepreneur, and he is the founder of Happy Living, a health and wellness media and book publishing company. I can go on and on about this man, and I want to dive right in. So Matt, love it, love it. I love all the flavors of your life. I love all the experiences of your life. And since I did read that whole list of experiences, is there one that you could point to that was the biggest shift in your understanding about happiness?
Yeah, probably at the end, the entrepreneur part. When I, 2004, we bought an international trade business, and we built that business up over 10 years, and we sold it. And before the selling of it, I had moved out of operations and into the chairmanship, and I started really thinking about how fortunate I had been in my life in many, many ways, but also financially, especially at the end. And what could I do to give back? And that was really the catalyst for me to start the company Happy Living. I didn't know it at the time. And as I was in the chairmanship and I started thinking about it and building these plans to do Happy Living, we ended up selling the company and I launched the business. And it really has been a fascinating learning experience because I've really had to take the attention off of myself, which I was, a hard type A, hard charging business guy. And even though I was kind and did nice things, it was always for the business. It was always for something for me. And I said, man, you got to learn how to really just give to others. And so that's the journey I'm on with Happy Living is trying to retrain myself in my first 50 some odd years of life and say, okay, how do you really just live to give to others? And so that would probably be the biggest experience I think I got out of that long list of strange experiences that you read.
I love that. I love that. And that whole how do I give back, and how that taps into purpose and connection and all the juicy things about life and helping people. I just, that's so beautiful. Love it, love it, love it. And one of the things that you talk about are 4 aspects of accepting diminishing capacity with power and grace. So before we go into what those 4 things are, I would love to have your definition of what do you mean by diminishing capacity. I have my idea, but I'm curious how you view it.
Yeah, well, it was kind of, part of the writing that blog post was a recognition that, we all start off with young, fresh, beautiful, pliable bodies and full of energy. And at the end of our life, whether it's 20 years or 80 years or 120 years, we go from full energy to zero energy. And there's nothing that we can do about it. So we are experiencing diminishing capacity in some ways, but in other ways, we can become stronger and stronger right up until death. I believe that. And so the title is a little, I guess I was trying to be a little shocking, because the post is really about how do you handle aging really well. And so that's with Power and Grace. So it's about, it's acknowledging and it's accepting that I'm 63 years old now. I used to be a very, strong, powerful football player back in my youth. And if I met that guy today, I certainly couldn't beat him in an arm wrestling contest, but I might be able to beat him in a contest about, what's about happiness, for sure, because I was chasing life then, and now I'm letting life come to me. And so, that's what the post is about. It's about how do we all age, but do it with power and grace right until the end.
I just think that's so beautiful. And the bunch there, I mean, the first thing that really popped out was I used to chase, and now I allow it to come to me. How has that played out in your life? Was it a gradual thing for you, or was it the inner work and the selling of your company, and suddenly everything changed?
So interesting, and I've written about this a little bit in my second book, but when I was football had a really big impact on my life. It was my identity for quite a while. And in football, and I played on the defensive side, so in football, when there's pressure being put against me, that means I got to go through that pressure, because that means whatever they're pushing me away from is where I need to get. And so I had this mindset of pushing, fighting against any pressure that you feel. In business, the same way. I used to seek things out and push and try to conquer the world. And I read a book called The Tao Te Ching when I turned 50. So it was about the time I was in this transition, probably before we started the company. But the Tao is a spiritual text, I guess, a spiritual text, 81 verses by Lao Tzu, who wrote how all of life is supposed to work out perfectly in 81 little short verses. And so I read this book called Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life by Wayne Dyer, that went through all 81 verses of the Tao and then explained it from his perspective and then how to apply it to your life. And I went through it. The first time I got it, I went through it in 81 days, and I thought, wow, there is a lot of stuff here that I don't understand. So I went back and I said, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to read the same verse 7 days a week. It only takes 15 or 20 minutes, 7 days a week, and I'm going to try to think about how can I bring that message into my life that week. And so I did that for about 10 years. And one of the lessons in there is that you have to unlearn life, that, we're all taught how we're supposed to be, go to school, get a job, be responsible. We're all told what to do. And I think in the second half of life, which I know you spend a lot of time on, this is the time all through life we should be pursuing the life that we were meant for. But in the second half especially, this is a time when you can start to reconnect with, what is your essence, what's inside you. And that relearning life really had an impact on me. And so I started thinking about it in a lot of different ways. And one of the biggest was fighting or accepting, pushing or flowing. I got white water rafting a little bit, several years ago. And you can't you can try to fight the river, but the river's going to win. So you really have to
Yep.
learn to plan where you want to go. If you got a tough rapid that you're going to go through, you stop your boats and you go, and the guides say, okay, here's what I want you to do. Go hard for that rock and then row as hard as you can. And so you want to plan life. That's true. But at some point you have to go with, if you're going to be successful, you need to go with the flow of the river, or you need to go with the flow of life. And
Yep.
what I've learned in that process is when you're fighting it, you're not winning anyways.
No, it's exhausting, and we're in our egos, and we're unable to really be fully in life because we're so in our head, and we're so, trying to make something happen. It makes me think of the row your boat gently down the stream, merrily, 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 merrily. We don't want to be, rowing upstream, but that's kind of what we're taught in our culture is you got to check the boxes, you got to jump through the hoops, and we try so hard. And why I love working with midlifers is we get to this place around 40-ish years old and kind of go, well, this doesn't really feel good, and this is not how I really want to do it. What else is there? And how can it be more of a flow and allowance versus trying so hard and white knuckling it? So I love that. I love that. So you said there are 4 aspects to be able to have power and grace, which I think is so interesting because power has an energy to it and grace has an energy to it. And the first one you talk about is gratitude, daily gratitude. I want to share a little bit about that first aspect around how we move through our life as we shift, as we're not as, quote, powerful in the old ways, but now we're in a new place to have power and grace. What might that look like?
Yeah, a couple of things. So just as to set this up, the post that we're talking about in these 4 elements of accepting diminishing capacity came from about a year ago. I got invited to do a motivational talk for an assisted living community where my parents live. My mom and dad are going to be 88 and 89 this year. So here I am trying to figure out how am I going to go talk to this group of elders in their 80s and 90s, and some of them 100 years old, and say, okay, come on, guys, it's time for us to get motivated. And I thought, what the hell am I going to say to these people? And so that's where I came up with this idea.
Yeah.
So gratitude, as I was thinking about daily gratitude, two stories come to mind. One is back in my football days, I'd gone to high school, then on to college, and had a good college career. And then I got 3 bites at the apple in the professional football leagues. I ended up with Saskatchewan Roughriders. Then I got signed by the Los Angeles Raiders in the NFL right after they won the World Championship. So I actually went to the very best team in the entire world back in 1984. And then one more stint.
Wow.
I got cut all 3 times. After Canada and before the Raiders, I was looking for some kind of magic pill. And a friend of mine was playing college ball at the time. And he said, hey, my defensive back coach played for the Houston Oilers. And I said, that's great. Could you get me a meeting with that guy? I want to talk to him and just find out, what can I do?
Yeah.
What I can possibly do to make the team. And he was a very nice guy. And we talked, and he basically said, look, Matt, you've advanced every step so far. This is just another step. There is no magic. There's nothing I can tell you. You just got to trust yourself, be yourself, all the things you would expect a mature person to tell you. But then when I left, as I was leaving our meeting, he wrote on a little piece of paper these words: your day belongs to another's dream. I was thinking, your day belongs to another's dream.
Yeah.
That, hey, do you know how many high school and college football players would trade place with you right now? You're trying to make the team. They would love to just have been signed. And so that really had a huge impact on my life then and ever since. I mean, still to this day. And so, today I was driving from North Carolina I'm in Tennessee now, and going over I-40, and the traffic was horrible because of all the road repairs they're doing from Helene, from the hurricane. And so part of me can get irritated that I'm stuck in traffic, but the other part can say, you know what, you're really lucky. I'm sitting here in my beautiful van. It's it's comfortable.
Right.
I've got a TV, my news program on my iPhone. Are you kidding me? And the reason that we're in traffic,
so many blessings, so many blessings.
So it's to shine the light on that, and your day belongs to another's dream can change every single moment of my life. I can be I can wallow in that this isn't fair, or I can say, wait a second, dude, you are so lucky to have this problem, to get through it. And so that's what daily gratitude means to me. One other thing I just share. Okay, so I think I mentioned this in our talk yesterday, but I was in a brewery in Texas about a year ago, and behind the bar was a chalkboard, and on the chalkboard was this quote: "The day my gratitude is higher than my expectations, those are really good days." And so that's a twist on the same thing.
That's a golden nugget, golden nugget. Absolutely. Yeah. Years ago, I don't know what it was or what the context was. I remember something was not going well. And my friends and I, we realized it's a luxury problem.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my rent went up, or, oh, I have a flat tire. Oh, I have a roof over my head. Oh, I have a vehicle. I mean, there's so many places to look for how lucky we are, how blessed we are. And I love that the more we can be in the gratitude and the less of the expectations, it's a good day for sure. Because that's the tricky thing. It's that setup of when we have this expectation of, I want this and it should look like this and I expect this to be this way in this time frame. That's when we set ourselves up for disappointment, and we lose the journey. We lose the beauty of the moment as well, because we're so in the future instead of just being in the present. And I can see when you have, and so many people talk about gratitude, and your slant on it is beautiful, because when we can really be grateful for the little things, or even some of the big things, like your parents being in assisted living, how lucky are they to have a son? How lucky are they to have a facility taking care of them? That gives them every single day something to look toward and feel blessed by. I think that's so beautiful. So you have the second one, which is continuous improvement. So tell us more about how that plays into power and grace when you're getting older and things are changing.
So this also goes back, not as far back as the lesson about gratitude, but back in probably 30 years ago, I was on a business trip. I was in retail business. We ran a small home centers that Home Depot and Lowe's became like. It was back before Home Depot and Lowe's existed. And I was on this trip.
Wow.
Went from Northern California down to Southern California to meet one of our suppliers. I'm just waiting in the waiting room, you know, like we used to do in the good old days when people got together and did business. And there was a magazine. I picked the magazine and I started looking through it, and I said, it was a story about how the Japanese auto manufacturers were starting to take over Detroit and becoming more successful than America, which owned it forever. And one of their tricks was this concept called Kaizen. Small incremental improvements add up over time to yield great big results. I thought, Kaizen, small incremental improvements add up over time to yield big results. Well, I can do small incremental improvements. And so that was another thing that I glommed onto, Junie, and said, hey man, I'm going to live my life with Kaizen. And that means, you know, every day I can wake up and I can have some small improvement that I made to my life, or to my van, or to the way I'm living, or to a relationship, to my business, or to whatever. And that gives me several things. First of all, I do get better, bigger, stronger, faster, whatever you want to think, smarter, more experienced. But it's also very uplifting because I kind of can't wait for tomorrow. What can I fix and what can I improve tomorrow? And as you age, if you can pull off that trick as you age, people are going to say, what in the world's going on? How can you be better at 70 than you were at 60? But I'm telling you, you can be. And it's a mindset, and Kaizen's a great big part of it for me. So
beautiful. And it brings me back to the Tao Te Ching that you read, and you read 15 minutes or so a day for a long period of time. And Wayne Dyer is amazing. And every day moving the needle, getting it more in your bones. And that's just a reading. Now, if it's about your health, or whether it's about relationship or love, when we have those moments of moving forward, it feels good. And it feels like there's lots of life happening. As we're talking about the getting older, I think the biggest challenge is when things stop moving, whether it's physical movement or the mental movement. That's when things start to just go south. I mean, my mom, who is turning 85, she is so smart. She's playing bridge and she's learning finances. I mean, my mother is just constantly expanding her mind. With that said, she had a setback with her health last year, and now she can't move as much. She has a heart condition, and since she hasn't been able to move a lot, it's been more challenging for her, and her body is more of a struggle. And so she still moves as much as she can because she knows the value of it, and yet there's that stagnant, there's that pushback in a way. And what I love about this Kaizen concept, and from my body of work with the shadow work, is there's a part inside of us, we call it the warrior energy. And if there's a part of us that wants to take action and wants to create something new, and we are not taking any steps at all, and we feel stuck, it's like a pressure cooker, and it goes inward. It goes inward as depression. It goes inward as anger. And yet when we have just even the littlest bit of movement, which then can also get you even more movement, it just feels like, whoo, we're going. And I can understand that then the next day, it's something you look forward to, like you said, because there's something new, there's something expanding, there's something shifting. It's not party over, but it's party on.
Yeah, and even in your mom's case, or setbacks or difficulties, if you have a Kaizen mindset, I can remember back in my trade days, I was really starting to do a lot of running, and I finally got to that point after it was quite a bit of running I was doing, up to 10, 11 miles a day. And I finally got to that point where people talk about a runner's high. I've been running all my life, but it was a drudgery. And I finally got that runner's high. And I thought, man, I might be able to go and run the Boston Marathon by the time I turned 40. And no sooner had that happened than my back went out, and I had 2 back surgeries back to back. My second one, I ended up writing my first white paper, flat on my back, high on pain meds. And it was one of the most, I don't know, I shouldn't say brilliant, but it was this flow of knowledge that was coming out. I was limited physically, but I was expansive intellectually. And so I think that's a part of it. Is you run obstacles, that's fine, but how do you get around them? How do you accept them? Well, it'll take us into our next complete acceptance. But how do you accept as your body grows? Of course, that's frustrating, but some people, it can go and they can still keep their spirit, and they can still, their fierceness is still alive. And that's what I try to hope for.
I love that. And it makes me think of when somebody loses their sight or their hearing, the other senses get more engaged. And it's something to remember that just because one aspect of our life might not be where we want it to be, like our physical self as we get older, or even our memory, or whatever it is, that there's so much more to life than just one aspect of life. So, complete acceptance. Even when I hear the word acceptance, there's just, my body relaxes. And I remember when I was a kid, I thought acceptance or, what's the word? Contentment. It was kind of a dirty word. Like, that's what I thought. It's like, oh, being content or accepting what is giving up. And yet, as I've learned and grown through the years, acceptance is so powerful. Share your view on complete acceptance and how it helps people as they age.
Well, so I had a rocky start with acceptance, and along the lines of what you just said, when I wrote my second book, Turning Inspiration into Action, I wrote about some of my big transformations in life, and one of them was going from football to becoming a family man. And I wrote about raising my kids and all that kind of stuff. My daughter was working with me at the time, and as I was working on the book and she was helping me edit it, she said the word acceptance came up, and unacceptable, and she says, Dad, she's like in her 30s now, I'm like in my 50s, and she says, Dad, even today when I hear the term unacceptable, that's unacceptable, I only hear it in your voice. And I thought, holy smokes, that's not good.
Wow.
I kind of learned that lesson late in life, that I'd put that kind of pressure on my kids because, I wanted them to be better. I wanted them, she says, you were harder on us than our coaches. She was a collegiate swimmer, an excellent athlete. But I wanted more. I wanted her to go to the Olympics, and I wanted, all the things I wanted for my own life. I kind of pushed on her and my son. And then later on in Happy Living, much later on, 10 years, no, maybe 5, 6 years later, I'm writing a blog post about acceptance. And I love quotes, so I went and looked for a quote on acceptance. And I saw this quote from a guy named Adyashanti. And he wrote, a total acceptance of yourself brings about a total transcendence of yourself. And so I thought, as I was writing, I brought up the story of my daughter, and I says, why can't we just completely accept others? Why can't we? I need to learn how to do that. And that was my blog post. And then I got to Adyashanti. Why can't we just completely accept ourselves? That should be the easiest thing for us to do, but it's not. It's simple, but it's difficult. So total acceptance is like with your mom, okay? The body's not working now. How can I totally accept that? I can fight against it, most people do, but your body's still wrecked. And so fighting against it's not going to make your body better. Now, working on therapy or something, that's good, and that's not non-acceptance. That's saying, let me do the best I can with the situation that I have. And so those two things, with my daughter and with Adyashanti, it's like, man, we need to just let go and accept others. And then all these things, daily gratitude, continuous improvement, complete acceptance, and what we'll get to next, all of these things are completely within our own capability to do. You don't need money, you don't need time, all you need is to change your mind. And you can have gratitude daily, and you can have Kaizen lifestyle, and you can completely accept other people. For me to accept you, you don't have to do anything. I have total control of it. And that's a part of this aging gracefully and with power.
So well said. So well said. So people can point to the things that they're grateful for with what we shared, and people can figure out Kaizen and taking small steps. How do you work the full acceptance? Because we have been trained by our culture. We've been brought into human bodies that are geared towards survival and checking the boxes and doing things so that we are safe. What do you do, or how have you cultivated that acceptance in yourself, and how do you help others with that?
I think it's just it's a recognition that of having to unlearn life, the way we kind of started this thing. That when I was trained to push against life, that created friction. When I trained myself, I'm going to say, as I'm still training myself to accept life, it's better. And so I'm learning that it's better. It doesn't cause, I could have been a nut job on the traffic today. But no, and there was moments I wanted to. I was we were standstill traffic for like 5, 6, 7 minutes, not even moving an inch. And I'm thinking, what is going on? I can't see anything. And so I start to push and wouldn't do any good. So I just changed my mindset. And so it's really just that. It's a mindset of how would I describe it? Paying attention to when you feel that you're not accepting, recognizing that, and then changing it. And it's a skill set. Like we talked yesterday about meditation. It's a skill set. The more you do it, you'll catch yourself getting frustrated, and you'll say, wait a second, my frustration is not helping the situation. And so let me stop with the frustration and put my mind on something else. You can catch it.
Anyway, oh yes, thank you. That's the thing, when we can catch it, when we go, oh, I'm frustrated, or oh, I'm pushing and I'm trying to make something happen. That's when you have a choice. And that's when you get in your power, because then you actually can do something differently. And it reminds me when I was on a plane ride to Peru, I think it was 2011, 2012. And I'm on this plane, and it was delayed. It was delayed a couple of hours. It was a long sitting on the plane, and my mind went to, no, my luggage may not get to the other plane, and the other plane, if it leaves on time from Lima, I'm going to miss that plane. Like, my head started spinning, and I caught it like instantly. And I just dropped into, this is out of my control. I can sit here stressed. I can sit here ruminating about the what ifs and the what ifs and the what ifs. And I truly just let it go. It took off. I had no idea what was going to happen. I spoke to the flight attendant. I was like, hey, I'm supposed to catch this flight, blah, blah, blah. They had no idea what was going to happen either. And as we were flying into Lima, they said on the loudspeaker, just so you know, for those of you that are catching the flight, you are actually on the flight that you were supposed to connect with. I was on the right plane from the very beginning. The luggage was going to come with me, and they were waiting for me. And I realized, wow, how far I had come, because I had a beautiful, relaxing trip, surrendering to the fact that, oh, I may not have any luggage. I may not have any of my clothes, and I will be fine, versus white knuckling the whole trip and being so stressed. So catch it, do something about it, power and grace. Love it, love it. Let's go to the last one, which is the power of spirit.
That's my favorite. So quite a little while ago, I was reading the book. I can't remember, I don't remember the book, but I remember the story very, very well. And it was a group of Americans going on a pilgrimage over to India to meet this guru, Sai Baba. And on the trip has been planned for months and months, and turns out that the guru had fallen and broken his hip and he was in the hospital. But the Americans were already on their way there, and so they kept the trip up. They got there to the hospital. The doctor greeted them and said, hey, the Sai Baba is going to take a meeting with you guys, but don't expect much, because he's just racked with pain. He's got a broken hip, and he's an old man, and all these body's not working. So then they wheel him out, and there he is, just sitting there, just in bliss and love and beauty. And one of the Americans said, Sai Baba, we understand that you are you just broke your hip and you're in extreme pain, but you look like you're just so peaceful and full of joy and grace. How can you do that? And he said, I am not my body, and my life is my message. I am not my body, my life is my message. When I read that 10 years ago, I thought, I glommed on to my life is my message. I put it up on my bulletin board, and my life is my message. What did that mean to me at the time? It meant that I'm not going to try to tell you what to do. I'm going to show you how I live my life. My life, what I do, is my message. If you like it, follow me. And so that's how happy living. We don't prescribe to people this is what you should do. We say, look, we tried this, and I started eating sauerkraut, and I feel better. And here's the reason I feel better. And so it's really about my life is my message. Now, as I go and I'm getting ready to go talk to the old folks, which I mentioned earlier, the assisted care, and I'm planning this talk, I got to this part of the story, and I said, oh, I am not my body. That makes a lot more sense. I'm in my 60s now. They're in their 70s, their 80s. Your mom's body is hurting right now, but your mom is not her body. Your mom is her spirit.
Right.
Her spirit can just be bursting like crazy right up until the very end.
And she is.
Yeah.
Totally.
And that's what it is. So
that's
that spirit part is something that all these things go together. I can be grateful that I have a strong spirit no matter what happens. I've lost both my legs. Okay. I wrote in my book about a gymnast who was born with no legs and given up to adoption because she was born in Romania, and she was no good to her, and she ended up becoming a state tumbling championship and in Cirque du Soleil. So, you can apply all these four things all the time. And the biggest message is, you don't need anybody's permission. You don't need any money. All you need is a change of mindset. And anybody listening today can start immediately with these four things: daily gratitude, continuous improvement, complete acceptance, and living from your spirit. And it'll completely change your life.
So beautiful. You're such an inspiration. Such an inspiration. So you have shared a couple of quotes, and there's a couple of other quotes I want to get your share about as well. So you've shared Your Day Belongs to Another's Dream. I think that's so beautiful, by Randy McClure. You have said, I am not my body, my life is my message, by Sai Baba. You also shared some quotes with me earlier, and I'd love to hear what your take is on: we cannot become what we want to be by remaining what we are, by Max Dupre.
Yeah, so that one really relates to the continuous improvement. It's and my book, Turning Inspiration into Action, what I wrote about is people often make great big life changes through devastation. And the reason I believe that happens is because that's when they're stripped to their core, and they say they have to do this thing because there's nothing left. And so they'll walk through fire to save their children.
Yeah.
Or whatever. this great big thing that they wouldn't allow themselves to do otherwise. And turning inspiration into action is about how can you use inspiration? How can you want to be something more, which is easy to do, but to actually do it, you have to change. So you can't stay the same and become more. And so to me, that's Kaizen. And I go right back to Kaizen every time.
Yeah.
And a part that you can add to that is to have some thoughtfulness about what it is you really want to be and why is it that you really want to be that. And so those are some things that I write about a lot in that second book, Turning Inspiration into Action.
Beautiful, beautiful. And there's another quote, and I love this one, if you're lucky enough to get old, I think you should celebrate it, by Iris Apfel. And I love that one just because this culture really frowns upon getting old. We don't want to get old. We have these stories about getting old, looking in the mirror, bitching and moaning about our wrinkles, blah, 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 blah. And if you're lucky enough to get old, I think you should celebrate it. What would you like to add to that?
I think for me, there's really, maybe it's about my life is my message. If you can, everybody listening, as we age, if we can age with power and grace, think of the message that gives to others around us. How can you be 63 and be a nut job like I am, full of energy? Well, it's because I've got my life aligned with my purpose and I'm on fire every day. That doesn't mean everything's hunky-dory.
Yes.
Sometimes things are really hard. But if you're aligned with your purpose, you can push through it, or you can accept it, or however you want to talk about it. So if you're lucky enough to get old, celebrate it, and celebrate with others when they're getting old, and help them to have gratitude, and help them to realize it doesn't matter if you're in your 80s. There's something you can do better tomorrow. What do you like to do? Junie, today I was in the van getting ready for my day, and I was thinking about my dish towels over here on the countertop, and I was thinking, I wonder if I could hang my dish towel up on this hook, if that would be a better spot for it. And it's some stupid little thing, but it can make my life better. And so again, that's the mindset. And if the mindset is, if you're lucky enough to get old, celebrate it, you're going to be celebrating a lot. With my parents, I'll just add one more thing. With my parents,
I
was thinking, we start talking about, funerals and how do you want to be, blah, blah, blah. But we should be celebrating every year like it's a funeral. And so, we're having family reunions. We're going back and we're making a big deal. You're turning 88 and 89 this year. This is great. Congratulations. And so I think that's what it's about for me. And the biggest part is, if you can do it with power and grace, just like Sai Baba did to that group of Americans, he taught them something because he was full of spirit. And he's celebrating, and even though his body's racked, that's an opportunity for a lesson that's going to help other people to live with power and grace as they age too.
So beautiful. I really have loved this conversation. It's so important. I mean, celebrating each and every breath, every day, every moment, and the people in our life, because we don't know what's coming. And every moment is a blessing. And when we can really apply those 4 aspects to each moment, we do experience deep joy, deep happiness, and have a much lighter, beautiful life. So I absolutely love our conversation. You have a free gift. Would you like to share about it?
Yeah, it's a condensed mini book. It's called Making Your Mark of Significance. I define significance for the audience as doing work you love with people you love in places you love and creating something of value for others. And during COVID, I got invited to do a keynote speech for a college graduation, a commencement address. Is that what they're called? Commencement address, I guess. But I couldn't do it in person because it was COVID.
So, yeah.
So I did it online, and I got to say, I thought it was some of my best work. And I thought, well, I just can't let that sit there. So I turned it into a little mini ebook designed to be read on a cell phone in about 30 minutes, and it talks about many of the things that we're talking about here today, but primarily 2 things in my book: figuring out what you want in your life, and I'm doing a little pyramid that's we came up with our 7 foundations of health, so it goes through the 7 foundations that help you define where you want to go, and then it helps you build the roadmap for where you want to go. And so it's really for people who are looking
so
in
good.
a transition of their life to doing the next step, whether it's from college to work, or whether it's from work to retirement, or any transition or any time. It's a good read. It's a fun book, and I think your audience would like it.
Sounds amazing. We will make sure that's in the show notes as well as the other places to find you. I just absolutely love what you're up to. You are truly an inspiration. You are living your message for all of us to witness and to learn from. So thank you so much for your time today. So good to see you here.
My pleasure.
That's our episode for today. Feel free to, you're so welcome. Please put some comments. And if you're watching the YouTube channel, be sure to share it with your friends. This, I'm sure, has been inspirational to you. And I'm sure it'll be inspirational to other people as well. And until we meet again, mwah. One more thing before you go. Have you taken my Discover Your Love Avatar quiz? It's a 2-minute quiz that can help you not only know your strengths, your superpower, because you have one, also identify some of your blind spots, some of the things that might be having you in your fear, having you behaving in ways that aren't in alignment with your highest self, the way you want to be when it comes to dating and relationships. And it'll also help you discover why maybe the stars haven't lined up for you yet. Bottom line is, you take this 2-minute quiz, you get a full report in your email with details on how to move forward in next level love, whether you want a partner or not. So you can go to midlifeloveoutloud.com/love quiz. The link is in the show notes as well. And if you haven't liked and subscribed to the station, I'm going to encourage you to do that too, so you don't miss any episodes. And I hope you got a ton out of today's. See you next week. Mwah.